Los Angeles Lakers 5 cheap sharpshooters to get in free agency.
Shut it to this sub, bros. I love you, old guys.
If there is one thing you cannot have enough of in the modern-day NBA, it is three-point specialists. The league has transitioned into a three-point heavy league, and having multiple guys who can shoot the basketball efficiently will lead to winning basketball. The Los Angeles Lakers have gone against the grain a bit, as the team was not one of the best three-point shooters in 2019-2020, yet won the NBA championship. However, they did get big performances from the likes of Markieff Morris and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, so they still were fitting into this mold a bit. This caught up to them in 2021. On top of Anthony Davis getting hurt, the Lakers did not have a single reliable shooter around LeBron James, making it impossible for James to go into his superhuman mode to carry the Lakers to victory. There were several big shots that were missed, and if the Lakers had some of the same knockdown shooters that LeBron had on the Cavaliers, then maybe it would have been different. Regardless, the Los Angeles Lakers are going to look to add sharpshooters this offseason. How many sharpshooters the Lakers bring in will be decided by Rob Pelinka, but they certainly will be dipping their toes in the market. With limited financial flexibility, these options are going to have to be relatively cheap for the team as well. Luckily, there are some cheap options on the free agent market that the Los Angeles Lakers can absolutely afford to sign and reap the benefits of their three-point shots. J.J. Redick. J.J. Redick is entering the latter stage of his career and has only missed the playoffs one time in his career, his first season with the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans traded Redick to the Dallas Mavericks this past season, and Redick now hits the open market as a free agent. Redick secured a decent-sized contract from the Pelicans 2 years ago, and it was likely the last big contract of his career. Redick's numbers have dipped a bit since he signed that deal, and at this point in time at his age, Redick is worth a minimum contract. He likely knows that, and he should be fine with it. While he has made the playoffs a lot, he has not won a championship, let alone been to the NBA Finals. He is going to get the chance to sign with whatever contender is offering him a deal, with the Lakers likely being one of the suitors. Yes, his numbers have dipped, but this is a guy who is one of the best role-playing shooters in league history. There are not many free agents you can go out and get with as much playoff experience as Redick, and of the bench, he could do truly special things in LA. Redick shot 37.1% from beyond the arc last season, and that is considered bad for him. He shot 45.3% from beyond the arc the year prior and is a career 41.5% shooter from 3. That is exactly what the Los Angeles Lakers need. Tony Snell. Tony Snell is absolutely going to sign a minimum contract no matter where he ends up in 2021, and he could be a good role player for the Los Angeles Lakers. Snell would have a small role on the team, even smaller than Redick, but that is fine, as he is a heat check guy that could have a big moment or two in the playoffs. That is all you are really asking for when you sign a player to be the 11th man in the rotation. If he can provide depth in the regular season and have a big moment or two in the playoffs, then it is money well spent. Heck, if he heats up enough, he could force his way into the rotation like Morris did in 2020. Snell averaged 21.1 minutes per game with the Atlanta Hawks this season, scoring 5.3 points with 2.4 rebounds and 1.3 assists per game. Not the most mind-boggling numbers, until you get to his three-point percentage. Snell shot 56.9% from beyond the arc last season. That is not a typo. It was in a very limited role, but that is still a historic three-point percentage for any role player to have. It is not like it was a one-year outburst, either, as Snell is a career 39.7% shooter from beyond the arc. He is not terrible defensively and gives the Lakers a decent option off the bench to limit everyone's workload in the regular season, with some big moment potential in the playoffs. Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague do not have a single point guard currently on the roster, as they are all free agents this offseason. Some will be brought back, some could be signed and traded away, but regardless, they are going to need cheap depth. He also brings that veteran presence that is going to help teach a young point guard, like Alex Caruso or even THT, the ropes on how to be a true playmaker in the offense. He won't bring as much value as Rajon Rondo, but that is fine, he would be a better veteran depth signing than Jared Dudley. He would also bring a smooth three-point stroke. This would likely be utilized more in the regular season when the stakes are lower, but Teague shot 43.9% from beyond the arc last season. He only attempted 82 threes in the season, but that is fine, as we said it is a limited role. And who knows, if the Lakers can mask his defense and he gets hot in the playoffs, he too could have a big moment or two that could swing a playoff game, which could swing a series and lead to championship number 18. Wayne Ellington. Wayne Ellington has donned the purple and gold before, and he has been someone who we have highlighted at the NBA trade deadline in each of the last 2 seasons. While the Lakers obviously did not make a move for Ellington, the fit was perfect and it definitely would not have hurt the team to make a trade for him. Now, the Lakers can get him without giving up any assets in return. Unlike the other players on this list though, you could make the case for Ellington getting slightly more than a minimum contract. Ellington is the perfect value for a biannual exception, which the Lakers do not have as they used it on Wesley Matthews last offseason. If another contender offers Matthews that biannual exception, then he may go that route. However, if it is between that offer from a lottery team and the minimum offer from a contender like the Lakers, then it would be worth it to join LA. Ellington is not the greatest of defenders, but he can be masked out there in Frank Vogel's defensive scheme. It could limit his playing time in the playoffs, but in the regular season it would be a real problem at all. Ellington shot 42.2% on 6 attempts from beyond the arc per game. In fact, there are only 11 players in the league who shot better from beyond the arc with as many or more attempts than Ellington. Alec Burks. Alec Burks is another player who could potentially get the biannual exception or get a contract that is worth more than the minimum. The projected salary of a minimum contract for a 10-year veteran next season is $2.642 million, although the Lakers only take a $1.6 million cap hit. Burks was paid $6 million by the New York Knicks last season, and while he did not necessarily light the world on fire and raise his value, he could get another offer in the $4 to $6 million range. If he doesn't, then the Lakers are just fine. If he does, then he would have to sacrifice some money to play for a contender. Again, that is not the most surprising thing in the world, especially for someone like Burks who has been a minimum guy his entire career. The Knicks did overpay a tad for him last offseason, and he could revert back to what he was making. Burks shot 41.5% from beyond the arc last season with 5 3-point attempts per game. He was a reliable bench scorer for the Knicks, and if he provided the Lakers with the same bench scoring, it would be a plus. Being a serviceable defender, it is not hard for a team to talk itself into paying a bit more for Burks to be on the bench. However, with very few teams actually having a decent amount of cap space this offseason, Burks very well could be lumped into this cheap sharpshooting group. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.